Temporary protected state escalating violence, and we consider the deportations amid claims that returning them would mean sending them back to a war-torn nightmare. Countries are becoming drug, at least 70 kilograms of cocaine. The shipment allegedly originated in South Africa. And today, Christians observe Holy Thursday, which marks the beginning of the Easter Triduum, the 3-day where priests wash the feast. Those were headlined. And we unfortunately woke up to news of a bike taxi before crashing into a house.
Unbelievable shock the wife of the police officer finds very difficult to digest. His last words few minutes ago still echoing in her head as he told his children he'll be back in the evening, asking the wife to close the door. Her fear of the unknown manifests.
The other day I tell him, say no, they take bike for the road. Anytime they come back, I tell you.
Inhabitants of Akakwan village also taken aback by the sad happening that claimed 2 lives, that of the police officer and the truck driver, and leaving one seriously injured, the bike rider. The devastating accident occurred at 8 a.m. this morning of April 17 around Lycée Akak, few kilometers from Yaoundé, when a truck carrying sand crushed a bike along the way before ending course in this building.
Elsewhere and over time, observers have been reaching agreement on the hypothesis that several West and Central African countries are becoming important transit hubs as well as endpoint destinations for narcotics. For doubting Thomases, here is clear evidence as customs officers at the Douala International Airport intercept 70 kilograms of cocaine worth nearly 1 billion francs CFA. Sherif Asale up next reports that the cargo originated from South Africa.
Douala customs officials have made a significant seizure, intercepting 70 kilograms of cocaine with an estimated street value of $3 million or 1.95 billion CFA francs. The drugs were concealed within mini compressors and were believed to have originated from South Africa. The seizure marks the second major drug bust by the Customs Department this year, underscoring the ongoing efforts to tackle the growing threat of drug trafficking. According to the head of the Douala Customs sector, the shipment was intended for a suspected Cameroonian trafficker, though the authorities are not disclosing further details on the individual at this time. The operation is part of a broader crackdown on international drug smuggling networks operating within the region. The authorities have launched a full investigation aimed at dismantling the supply chain and apprehending all parties involved. The success of this operation highlights the critical role of customs enforcement in preventing illegal substances from entering local markets and reaching vulnerable populations. The investigation continues, with officials working to trace the origin and the destination of the narcotics.
Elsewhere, close to 8,000 Cameroonian migrants in the United States say they are gripped by fear for their lives as the Trump administration prepares to end their temporary protected status. Now, many among them, including Francophones, say they are scared of returning to a country ravaged by the Anglophone crisis. Here's Gladys Ambondibang.
Cameroonian migrants in the United States who face deportation after President Donald Trump terminated their protected status say they currently live in fear for their lives. On Friday, the United States Department of Homeland Security said it was ending the temporary protected status program for an estimated 7,900 Cameroonians from June amid a sweeping immigration crackdown. Many say they fear returning to the country and are citing the tensions in the minority Anglophone regions, which have resulted in more than 638,000 people being internally displaced and left at least 1.7 million others in need of humanitarian aid, according to a 2024 Human Rights Watch report. Some of the migrants who say they fled to the United States in December 2022 after their siblings were murdered say they fear for their safety if forced back. However, some critics say some of the migrants of French expression are falsely using the Anglophone crisis as the pretext to plead for a pause on the deportation plan. They argue that President Trump is forcibly returning people to violence, human rights violations, and a humanitarian crisis in Cameroon. Others have, however, urged the U.S. government to help resolve the crisis in Cameroon before sending Cameroonians back.
And now, once upon a time in 2011, the government of Cameroon inaugurated a tractor assembly plant in Ebolova in the south region amid hyperbolic fanfare and euphoria. In fact, the project was intended to transform and modernize Cameroon's agriculture, but close to 25 years later, it lies in ruins, and Gladys Sambondibang says it's a reflection of a missed opportunity as a result of mismanagement.
It was supposed to be a turning point for Cameroon's farming sector, a factory to assemble tractors and boost mechanized agriculture. But more than a decade on, the Bolowa tractor assembly plant is a shadow of itself, spread over 10 hectares. The facility was inaugurated in 2011 following a personal pledge from the head of state at the agro-pastoral show. Back then, hopes were high. The plant would assemble tractors to support the production of rice, maize, and other staples, transforming farming for thousands across the country. Today, that dream is rusting away. The once busy grounds are now overrun by weeds. The tight floors lie hidden beneath thick vegetation. Fences have collapsed, and infrastructure, once described as modern, is visibly crumbling. It is true things were neglected, but with recent reforms at the National Center for the Study and Experimentation of Agricultural Machinery and a new Director General who hails from this region, we are seeing flickers of hope. The original version included not just the Bolowa plant, but also a storage center in Galan. Backed by Indian expertise, the project managed to assemble around 1,000 tractors. But soon after, activities came to a halt. Delays, funding shortfalls, and poor oversight stalled progress. The price tag, nearly 19 billion francs CFA. In the early stages, 100 tractors were put together in a pilot phase, but never fully deployed. Without sustained investment and logistical follow-through, the machines sat idle. The broader goal of revolutionizing Cameroon's agricultural sector was quietly shelved. Today, despite administrative shakeups and efforts to revive operations, the damage is evident. For many, the Bolowa plant stands as a symbol not of innovation, but of squandered opportunity. But what is preoccupying is why, in a country with vast agricultural potential, do such high-stakes investments so often fall into disuse.
And that's why several months ago, authorities in the country's commercial hub renewed a ban on the circulation in the daytime of heavy-duty trucks as well as other large carriers. In fact, as we speak, the restriction remains effective only on paper. So what's been obstructing its smooth implementation? Dee Maureen has been finding out, and here she files in. Unfortunately, we might not be having Ndi Maureen's report. But let's go over to something else, and this is good news because over the past 2 years, cocoa farmers across Cameroon have not stopped smiling to and from the banks. In fact, the ongoing revolution in the sector has inspired the resurrection of several plantations in the Mungo division of the littoral region that had once been abandoned. Gladys Sambo says it's a scene of hope and pride for cocoa farmers in that part of the country. Here's her report.
In this quiet village nestled in fertile lands of loam, the air is thick with the rich aroma of cocoa. It is a scent that now carries promise and pride. Once overlooked and underpaid, local cocoa producers are seeing a dramatic shift in their fortunes. Their product, celebrated on the global stage for its superior quality, is fetching record prices and drawing renewed interest in Cameroon's cocoa sector.
It has already been said that in the past, Cameroon was almost in third place. Our plantations were abandoned because the prices were not competitive on the market. But in 2023 and 2024, producers reached the peak of sales.
Producers speak with satisfaction about a newfound ability to take control of their work, their harvest, and their lives.
What will change in the life of the producer is that he will now be able to set the price of his cocoa because it is of good quality. And the impact is already being felt across families and communities. These improvements in prices is already leading to an improvement in the daily lives of producers. They now have enough money to send their children to school, just like in the old days. With cocoa now selling for as much as 500,000 francs CFA per bag, farmers say the price is not just competitive, it is transformative. They had difficulties before. Now the producer can pay for the schooling of all his children. The price is attractive. We must continue to support policies like the ones we are implementing. But with opportunity comes responsibility as Cameroon climbs the ranks of the world's top cocoa producers. Maintaining quality and sustainability will be crucial.
Now let's talk something else, because when Cameroon played host to the 2021 Africa Cup of Nations, the Japoma neighborhood and its environment was a bustling attraction for tourists as well as city dwellers. Now 4 years down the road, the Japoma Stadium as well as its fringes have all gone silent. Economic activities out there have been considerably slowed down as a result of the scarcity of sporting events. Sherifa Saleh now says business owners are frustrated and can no longer mask it.
For unity and economic promise, the area surrounding Japoma Stadium in Douala is now marked by disappointment. Local entrepreneurs who had invested heavily in businesses near the stadium ahead of the 2021 African Cup of Nations are now struggling to stay afloat.
There is no activity inside the stadium of Japoma. It's very difficult to run business currently because we have a lot of charge. We have personnel, we have on and everything else we have to pay.
The decline in commercial activity is directly tied to the absence of regular sporting events. Many shops and vendors thrived briefly during the tournament, only to see business drop sharply in the months that followed. Others have closed their doors, entirely unsure when or if the situation will improve. Adding to the frustration is the incomplete construction of the Douala East Access Road, a major infrastructure project intended to improve access to the stadium. The delays have made it difficult for potential customers to reach the area, further isolating businesses that depend on events traffic. As time passes, with no new events or clear timelines for infrastructure completion, the sense of disillusionment continues to grow among those who had placed their hopes around that area.
And if you're just tuning in, you're watching the news on Canal, the international broadcasting live from Douala. Now, today across the globe, Christians have been commemorating Holy Thursday, marking the start of the Easter Triduum, or the 3 days leading up to the resurrection of Jesus Christ, officially known as the Mass of the Lord's Supper. Holy Thursday also highlights the first celebration of the Eucharist, and activities usually include the symbolic washing of the feet, where priests wash the feet of parishioners, reflecting Christ's teaching of serving others through selfless love. Let's now listen to Reverend Father Joseph Meme of the St. Paul and Peter's Cathedral in the capital Yaoundé.
Holy Thursday, we have the institution of the Eucharist, the day Jesus Christ instituted the Eucharist, which is equally the feast of all the priests. So Jesus gave it as a commandment. Now we should do it in memory of him. And the Eucharist for us Catholic Christian is the summit of our Christian faith. And then on Good Friday, after going through 40 days of Stations of the Cross and penance, and then that same Friday in the afternoon about 3 p.m., because Jesus died on the cross at 3 p.m., we are coming back to the church to do the celebration of the Passion, and with the veneration of the cross to show it as the symbol of our victory. And then on the Easter Vigil, where children will receive the sacrament of baptism, First Holy Communion. But during this period, we are expecting our parishioners and all Christians to celebrate it with a lot of faith.
Fervent gratitude for the privilege of your company from the entire production crew. That's where we replace the lead on this edition of the news. Stay tuned for more news at 1950 with Alan Gislen Kanga. But before then, Lil Pijou is in command with the debrief. Bye-bye.